Thank you for joining the Corporate Talk. This is the place where we share stories about career and journey to learn and to exchange also mainly on the human side of our jobs and our careers. And here I'm very proud to introduce you to Marco Aurelio Cesarino. He is the co-founder of Embraer X, the disruptive innovation division of Embraer, one of the leaders aircraft manufacturers in the world. He's a founder and head of Beacon, the spin-off of Embraer, and he has more than 20 years career in innovation, lean manufacturing, and company transformation, and also more of the half of these 20 years in lean and excellence programs. So, Marco, thank you for joining today in this exchange in the corporate talk.
Thank you, Carol. This is amazing. I really love this topic, talking about the human side of the corporate world. It's amazing because it's all about people, right? So this speaks to my heart. And thanks for inviting me. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course, I'm very happy for it. I prepared some questions here, which were specially made and customized to you because I'm very curious to learn more of your journey, and I'm also very happy to share these learnings also with everyone who is watching us. So, can you tell us a little bit more about your career and what draw you to this moment you are right now as a co-founder, head of Beacon?
Wow, yes. Well, first, I'm a production engineer, graduated in 2001, and since then, I discovered myself as now I can describe as an entrepreneur. In anything I do, I always try to reinvent myself to uncover uh, and, and uncover things and really go to the unknown of the things. This is really what moves me, and so since the beginning of my career, I saw myself when I look backwards, I see myself always involved in transformational projects, always involved in purpose-driven initiatives. And I joined aviation since when I graduated. I joined aviation, which is an amazing domain, full of challenges, full of unknowns, full of evolution. So that's why I've been with aviations already for many years, 23 years in aviation in different segments. So I had some experiences in strategy, results management, also the services and support side of the industry, which is really very, very interesting because when you see you have
Mhm.
contact with the customers and the airlines that really moves us from A to B. So to see this entire operations and ecosystem is amazing. So my first season in my career was around results, strategy, and really moving from international company to a global company. So I supported the service and support functions in this arena. So the second season of my career in aviation is really about the lean manufacturing, and this was super transformative to me because I'm a really a fan of the lean philosophy,
Me
and I
too.
had the opportunity to go to Japan to really understand and to see what is about from the ground. Really, it's very philosophic because it's about how Japanese think the world as well. So everything Toyota created is really about how the population and how they see the world. So it was really something that makes sense to me a lot and transform my life in the way we think value. in the way we
Mhm.
value things. So it was like an amazing season of my career. And my last season was like really applying strategy, really applying lean philosophy into innovation. And
Mhm.
I joined the innovation group, and we worked together in a part of this story. Was a very important moment in my career, in my life, and had the privilege to really work with you as well. So with innovation, we saw different opportunities to always go beyond. So my this season is about how we can really see a horizon three in the middle of a core business. So in this season, I really uncovered what really ambidexterity means, how you combine the core business with the next futures, really the next core business. And this is what nowadays moves me a lot. So, how to combine and to create and to craft your new core business, because sometimes it's not super obvious, sometimes it's hidden, sometimes is in between the lines. So it requires a lot of empathy, it requires a lot of understanding the problems to solve first. And
Mhm.
this is a challenge for aviation industry because it's all
Wow.
about
Yeah.
technology driven. So when you think about when you flip and think about the other side, it's amazing. So that's a little bit on the three big seasons of my career, and I'm super happy with what I continues discover in terms of transformation. So that's what
Mhm.
moves when I see all
Yeah.
the seasons is about transformation, is about a big purpose, and this is a bit about my career.
That's fascinating, Margaret. And I would say we worked. I was very short time with you in this part of your career, but working in airspace, it's something that moves everyone, right? We have a passion for flying as a human, and I think working in this industry is fascinating. And now that you mentioned about transformation, one of my questions here, um, I think in the airspace you mentioned, Embraer is also very innovative already by nature, by the industry. It needs to be innovative and also bringing new technologies further. But even creating this disruptive part of Embraer, the Embraer X, a spin-off of Beacon, which is works as a startup model. So this is also quite a disruption for a corporate, right? We have the big corporate, and then how do we promote this transformation? Could you highlight some of the challenges during this path? And what was the most important things you learned and you can share with us?
Yes, sure, sure. Uh, I really this part of my challenges is really very, 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 very interesting because it's about ambidexterity.
Mhm.
The challenge for big corporations is always to balance the efficiency, the excellence of the day-to-day basis to really move the business forward profitably and delivering results to all the stakeholders. So it's of course the core of a big organization, right? Uh, but when you think about the longevity and the sustainability of the business, you have to take a chance. You have to challenge yourself on what will be the disruption to your business. So you are prepared in advance, and you can create amazing things. So driven
Mhm.
by this mindset, it was when we created and decided to launch Embraer X to be this lab and to be this to to protect the core by organizing the agenda when we are talking about the future and Horizon 3, where it's
Mhm.
an unknown market and unknown products and services. When you combine unknown markets, unknown products and services, it's the Horizon 3. It's the unknown, so you need to take the risk to explore that path. So the
Mm-hmm.
nature of combining these two agendas is a huge challenge because you have to exercise when you're talking core business, you have a set of KPIs, a set of measurements, and a set of uh, uh, a way of doing business. When you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about the unknown, it's another set of KPIs. You don't measure the unknown with revenue right away, right? The revenue is a consequence. You have to validate the hypothesis first. You have first to prove and to validate your product when it's a product, and you have to prove traction. So it's another
Mm-hmm.
set of KPIs. So this is a challenge. How to combine these both worlds, how to really uh, help the organization to have both agendas, right? So that was one of the initial challenge, first to convince a big organization. As a matter of fact, I
Sure.
have to confess, Carol, when I look and see Embraer
Mm-hmm.
in the industry, we are a startup in this industry to really
Mm-hmm.
launch the aviation industry in Brazil with not the amount of resource that development countries usually have, um,
Mm-hmm.
but to launch it in 1969 and develop this industry and ended up becoming the third largest aircraft manufacturer in the world, but the first one in the sectors we operate. It's an
Mm-hmm.
amazing startup,
It is
let's say,
true.
endeavor. So Embraer, when we look, even though it's a 20,000 employee corp, it is we do have a startup mindset as well. We just don't see
Well,
ourselves as startup. But
20,000, yeah.
yeah,
20,000 employees to be the third in the world. This is great, right?
yes, but that's I mean kind of helping Embraer to go beyond
Mm-hmm.
and to see that there are possibilities for new markets taking advantage of our core competences is fascinating because it's not anyone that can develop an aircraft from a
True,
blank page to a certified machine. It requires very strong competences. So that's my
true,
challenge to help take advantage and leverage those competence towards the unknown, towards new business. And that's how Embraer X operates. And that's our role to the organization. So it's a small team, but
hmm.
it's to provoke the core business to see new possibilities.
Wow, that must be fascinating. Also, this process of convincing. And can we explore a little bit more there? And could you share tips or recommendations who wants to drive transformation in their own organizations? What maybe based on stories that you had, or even challenges that were very tough for you to handle? How did you do it? And which tips can you give for the entrepreneurs in the company?
No, this is um, first of all, it's super important because what I see nowadays, Carol, it's we have a dilemma. The when startups are becoming corporations, they don't know how to behave to become a corporation. At the same time, big corporations are seeing the startups movement.
Mhm.
It's a fascinating world, agile world, and ended up entering in a identity crisis because a big corp, it's hard to behave as a startup because of
True.
the governance required, because of the amount of processes and etc. So it's hard. And it's an
Mhm.
identity crisis. I see startups wanting to become corps, corps wanting to become startups, but in the end of the day, you have to take this very um, you have to stay calm
Mhm.
and gain empathy. So to your point, I believe the initial challenge for a big corp to start embracing the unknown is to, first of all, the ones that are leading this initiative have to gain empathy with the corporation mindset. So
Mhm.
it's very hard to go to an executive, to a C level, and to say, oh, you have to be more agile. But what does that mean in a big corp? So when you gain empathy, you help the organization to translate what does it mean in terms of a new business. So, and then you
Mhm.
start to create a storytelling that it's not a convincing, but you evangelize and you help
Mhm.
the C-level and the executives to translate, because it's not about you
Mhm.
speaking, it's not about you preaching something, it's about you facilitating the person to decode the one
Yeah.
world to the corporate world, the startup world to the corporate world. And this decode is personal. So each
Mhm.
executive needs to be helped to translate into the code. So my tip is
Mhm.
to gain empathy and to, instead of trying to convince, trying to facilitate this decoding. And that's what we did
Mhm.
when before we launched Embraer X. You will remember we took all our vice presidents to the Bay Area, to Silicon Valley, for them to experience what is that about. What is the VC world, which is not something very usual to a big corp.
Mhm.
Now, with the CVC, corporate venture capital movement, many organizations are getting used to that. But
Mhm.
it's not something super easy to understand.
Yeah.
So you have to be immersed. So one of the strategies we had back in the past was to take them, to allow them to see with their own eyes
Mhm.
what is happening, what's Silicon Valley about, what is an
Mhm.
innovation ecosystem about, why an innovation
Yeah.
ecosystem is an innovation ecosystem. So our mission is really to facilitate this decoding. So my tip is not giving framework, is not giving, it's just giving um, inviting our audience here to think in a new perspective about our
Mhm.
mission to be facilitators, helping translating and helping the corporations to decode and to understand the startups world or the venture capital world. So this way we will be able to approve new businesses, approve Horizon 3 projects easier.
That's nice. And I really like the way you mentioned, because it sounds like a customization, right? Today we have a lot of stories of how Google did, how Amazon does, how Apple do it, but sometimes it's not a copy and paste to our own companies,
Not
right? Because the culture is different, a lot of things are different. Doesn't work
exactly.
that way. Yeah.
That's it. So there's no silver bullet. There's no recipe that that really can be applied for anything. It's really
Hmm.
about the perception and understanding what fits to better to your own world,
Hmm.
your
Nice. And
corporate scenario.
And I want to change a little bit the topic from disruptive innovation to another one, which I believe in my heart, and I think you do, that has an influence, which is about lean. So you have a long history in lean. and a very excellent history on lean manufacturing. And you told me some days ago about a concept that might be new for everyone. So it's about lean governance. But before we go to this topic, can you explain for who is watching us what is lean about? And before we jump to the lean governance.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm really passionate about lean. So a lean manufacturing is a concept that really help us to execute efficiency, to execute excellence by giving meaning to value. So by really understand what value is, it's a super, let's say, philosophic discipline. But when you understand the principle, that's why the Japanese always teach us the principles of the lean manufacturing, which is around remove and reduce waste. So waste, when you're performing a process, when you're developing a product, waste everywhere. So when you take the principle of removing waste from everything you do, uh, so you are adding value. Okay, so that's about lean, thinking about what value is and remove all the
Mhm,
waste from your way to get to the value, to deliver value to the stakeholders. So this is
mhm,
a general definition, and out of that, when you are applying that to manufacturing, you have
mhm,
several uh, ways of doing that. So, of
mhm,
course, how to align your production pace to the rhythm of the pace of the market. So, this is
mhm,
about the pull system. You have to be pulled, not creating stock, amount of stock, which is money stopped and parked in your facility.
mhm,
Otherwise, you have to be pulled by the market, pulled by the customer in a way that
mhm,
you deliver what is needed in the amount needed when is needed. So you align your cash flow to your revenue stream as well. So
mhm,
some of the lean principles give us this possibility to drive the pull system, to remove waste on everything you do, adding value to the customers. So basic, this is the principle. When you think
mhm,
about that, and when you think about the challenge of a startup, which are a project or uh, a group of people validating an idea, creating something new, and this something new usually grow.
mhm,
And when you are developing that, you have to think about which stage you are. So if you are in the very early stage validating your project, or if you are in the growth moment, scaling moment, you have to think in different ways, right?
mhm,
Otherwise, you may kill a startup by demanding uh, uh, a different um, by requesting a different, let's say, KPI. When you're
mhm.
validating, you don't need to think about your HR processes because you're in the very, very
It's
early
not in
stage,
the moment. Yeah.
right? It's
Mhm,
not in the moment. At the same time, when you are launching something new, even though it's an MVP or in the initial stage, it's super
mhm,
important for a founder to think about uh, their IP, how innovative their idea is,
mhm,
how to also start to address if there is a patent involved on that. And
mhm,
usually they don't think about it. And it's important
mhm,
to think about it in the right moment. So when you combine the lean principle, that is to deliver value in the right moment, to think about value in the right moment, in a lean way, or not more
mhm,
and not less. You take it to governance. and
Mhm.
you think governance in different aspects, um, you then think the lean governance. So it's applying the governance as a big corp has, so compliance, HR policies, let's say how you structure your company in terms of all the partners you're gonna have. So you have to think about it, how you're gonna the equity involved, everything a big
Mhm.
corp usually has, and all the best practice on his risk management and etc., which is too much to a startup. So the
Exactly.
lean
Yeah.
governance is basically to um, organize all the governance practices that
Mhm.
is important, but it's divided into small buckets so the startups can apply the right portion of it according to the phase they are. And this is minimizing a lot on my experience for the startups I am
Mhm.
advising, Carol. This is
Mhm.
minimizing a lot the growth pain, because
Mhm.
usually when startups are going to think about governance,
Mhm.
it's already when they are about to scale, when they are already start talking to investors, and the investor starts asking, oh, what about this, what about that, what about that, and the startups,
And they're
oh, I
not prepared.
what about. So this is helping startups to face investors in a very
Mhm.
mature way, but without being super heavy to them, because
That's
we
super nice.
take it step by step. So the lean governance is about it. So it's a way to bring governance in the right moment with the right portion to help startups to not fall into traps and seeing themselves in too many risks or exposures unnecessarily. So that's the principle of it, and I'm super fascinated about it because I see helping a lot of startups to avoid traps, avoid unnecessary risks, and it's amazing.
Wow, I didn't know about it, so I just heard from you, and I'm also very curious to learn more. And Marco, could we also say that startups who are willing to have this approach could also approach you to ask for mentorship?
Of course, of course. That's what I've been doing. This is a side project that I have in my spare time to really help startups, help founders, help small companies. Sometimes it's not a startup, but it's small companies to
Mhm.
think and organize. Because, of course, being in aviation for 23 years, it's an amazing industry full of governance. So I mean, it's a you are. I mean, I'm exposed to in my day-to-day base to several best practices on
Mhm.
governance, and I've been helping translating this world to the startups, helping them to 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 move fast and safe to their success. And it's amazing. So please, if you want to know more about it, if you need some help and if you need some advising services or let's say mentorship, I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Marco. And I think for a good closure, we incorporate many aspects of your career here. But would you pick one learning from your career, something that um, helps you to achieve all this success that you had until now, and for further success as well, that you could give to anyone who is watching us? Which advice would you give in their careers?
Oh, so
Maybe
for
more than one. That need to be one.
yeah, I always I'm a storyteller, so I try to organize stories. Um, I see. I really believe that to build strong big things, to create big things, it's always important to find a purpose. about it, and to be driven by that purpose. So that's how I do, and that's how I guide my life around the challenges that I see. I always try to understand the purpose, because this make you
Mhm.
flow better. This make you really connect to a bigger thing. So that would be my first advice. But in my day to day, this is more aspirational advice. And
Mhm.
but in my day to day way of working, is really to hack the system, and not be happy with the no's that we usually get in our road. So as an entrepreneur, and as a corporate entrepreneur as I am, I define myself as a corporate explorer. Daniel, my boss, he gave me one book called Corporate Explorer, which is very interesting. It's basically what
Mhm.
we do internally is to hack the system, and the story is full of no. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that, because of course there are many rules and etc. So I usually don't stop in the first, second, third no's that I have. I always try to find ways to help to get to the big yes. I'm a yes ambassador. So don't stop in your first no, second no, or third no. Okay, you will find a way to get to a yes. So that's my advice.
That's really nice. Thank you. Thank you so much, Marco. It was really rich talk for all of these learnings and exchange. I really appreciate your time shared with family, companies, and so on, and startups, your mentors. So thank you so much for giving us a part of your time today.
Thank you, Carol. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.